The anticipated neap tide is subdued by bad weather conditions as recovery efforts on the sunken Sewol ferry continue for the 24th day. President Park Geun-hye's basic pension plan is to take effect, only scaled back from its original form beginning July 25th. What are the revisions? Korean dramas set the bar high in expectations of its characters' professions. From doctors to lawyers and much more, the only catch is they're all geniuses. Feeling a little drowsy from the spring weather? We'll look at some vegetarian dishes that'll spring you back to life on Korea Today, Friday, May 9th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today. I'm Kim Young alongside Oh Jin-ju and Kim Min-jung.
Good Friday morning, everyone. I'm sure many Koreans are thinking to themselves, is it Friday already? It was a short work week this week, 3-day work week, but don't get used to it. We're going to have the 5-day work week back again starting next week.
I can't believe we have a full week ahead of us, but that's why we have to enjoy the weekend to the fullest. And although we're seeing some foggy and chilly conditions this morning, it's going to get warmer as the day progresses, and until Sunday we'll be able to enjoy sunshine and the warmth.
That's right, so enjoy that weekend, and we'll get more for your weekend weather forecast later on with Chun Song-cho. And now we'll turn our attention to the latest updates from the Sewol ferry, sunken since the 16th of April. Recovery efforts continue, but despite the fair tidal conditions anticipated, bad weather has set in, with fatigue on the rescuers slowing down progress. On Thursday, 3 more bodies were recovered, leaving some 30 still missing after nearly a day and a half of stalled progress. Divers continue to comb through the ferry's wreckage, while several layers of nets have been installed around the submerged vessel, and the search radius has been increased to 80 kilometers from the ferry. The Coast Guard has been under fire for misreporting the number of people rescued and allegedly covering up mistakes in the face of mounting public criticism over its subpar response to the accident. The Joint Investigative Unit looking into the sinking has taken into custody Kim Han-sik, chief of the Sewol ferry's operator, Cheonghae-jin Marine Company, on suspicion of accidental homicide.
The ruling party and the main opposition now have their new floor leaders. The Saenuri Party's Lee Wan-gu is a 3-term lawmaker with economic expertise, known to be a member of the faction close to President Park Geun-hye. His partner in office, the chair of the policy committee, Chu Ho-young, is a former judge who has served as a minister under former President Lee Myung-bak and is widely liked for his nonpartisan character. Meanwhile, the opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy elected the first female floor leader in Korea's constitutional history. But Park Young-sun is no stranger to politics. The former news anchor and 3-term lawmaker has garnered support from the party's co-leaders Kim Han-gil and An Chol-soo, as well as hardline junior lawmakers with her center-line stance within the Liberal Party. The appointments of the new floor leaders come at a delicate time when the opposition party calls for a special probe into the Sewol ferry disaster and the government's handling of it.
With safety and prevention in the spotlight more than ever since the sinking of the Sewol ferry, elementary, middle, and high schools in Seoul will begin regular safety training exercises. On Thursday, the Seoul Metropolitan Office of Education announced schools have been instructed to conduct mandatory safety drills 5 minutes before certain training exercises, class experiments, physical education classes, and other educational activities. Teachers are to inform students on how to wear and use safety equipment properly, evacuation procedures, and what to do in case of an emergency. Simple safety measures that could prevent injuries and loss of life.
One of President Park Geun-hye's main campaign pledges was to provide a monthly pension allowance to all senior citizens aged 65 and above. But this pension plan had been scaled back, and after months of dispute between political parties, the revised plan is finally set to take effect starting July 25th. And for more, we have our Kwon So-ah joining us in the studio to tell us about this recently passed bill. Good morning, So-ah.
Morning, Jinzu. Well, the preparations to enforce the law just kicked off yesterday as the National Assembly passed the bill exactly a week ago last Friday with the approval from 140 out of 195 lawmakers in attendance. Now, rival parties have clashed numerous times over this plan as the then main opposition Democratic Party, and which is now part of the newly formed New Politics Alliance for Democracy, denounced President Park Geun-hye's administration for stepping back from its original plan. Now, President Park had apologized for not keeping her promise, but eventually lawmakers did find a compromise on a revised bill. So let's take a look.
From big expectations to major disappointments and back to hopefulness. The Welfare Ministry finally began detailed preparations on Thursday for the highly disputed basic pension bill that was approved by Parliament last week. The pension plan, which was one of President Park Geun-hye's key election campaign pledges, however, underwent a major overhaul due to the huge burden it posed for state finances. So how did the bill change from its original form? While President Park's signature campaign pledge originally stated that all seniors over the age of 65 would receive up to 20,000 won, or roughly $195 a month, the revised version will only allow seniors in the bottom 70% of the income bracket to ever see that money. Based on other supplemental income and on how much and for how long an individual has paid into the national pension system, an amount between $98 and $195 can be received. 90% of the recipients will be given the maximum amount. Despite the earlier political wrangle over the bill's revision, many seniors across the country are approving of the new plan.
In around 10 years from now, I will be receiving these benefits too. I believe at this point, the basic pension plan, as it is now, is adequate.
I like the basic pension plan because I think in respect to our economic growth rate, our welfare system is lagging behind. Since we are now in the first stages of this new welfare plan, I believe we can develop it by continuously adjusting it to our needs.
While many believe it's fair that only low-income seniors benefit, others are expressing their discontent over the narrow guidelines that determine who qualifies as a recipient.
We had big hopes in the election pledge, but after the revisions were made, we were very disappointed. Just because we own a house, we are not able to receive the basic pension.
Kim Sang-un also said he and his wife have no income. Experts also have their concerns on the new pension plan, saying that although it will be of great help to the poorest seniors, in the long term, the system can have negative effects on later generations. They say while the current national pension system is adjusted according to the average income growth rate for civil servants, the new bill will be linked to the consumer price index growth. Simply said, some may be better off without the new plan, as the old system could benefit them more in the long run. Meanwhile, some sociologists believe Korea's pension is too low compared to other developed countries. The population is aging at a rapid pace, and it has the highest poverty rate among the elderly in the OECD.
In 2050, the elderly will make up 40% of the whole population. If 14 to 15 million seniors are paid such a low pension, most of them will live in poverty as society will not be able to support them. So I'm sure that sooner or later, the public sentiment will be that the pension has to be increased.
So we almost always see these kinds of heated debate before a law is passed, and I understand that there are concerns about the basic pension plan, but for those who are now eligible, how do they go about receiving the monthly allowance?
Right, people have been already making inquiries about this basic pension plan since last year, since the idea was introduced. And if people have questions about how to apply for this plan, they can ask at the Ministry of Health and Welfare, at the National Pension Service, as well as community service centers. And seniors who currently are already receiving benefits of around $98 from the existing plan, they will be automatically eligible for the new pension plan, which means they won't have to go through any application process. Instead, they will receive the monthly allowance of the new pension additionally to what they're already getting.
Then how about those who aren't members of the already existing pension? Are there the process of assessing their income or qualification must take some time?
Right, that procedure could take weeks or even longer, which raises the question whether people will be able to receive the first sum in July. However, the Ministry of Welfare says that those who apply later in July will be given the amount additionally to the next month, so there won't be any worries there. However, what people may want to look into is that some may not be able to receive coverage, not only in the case of having one's own house, as we earlier saw in the interview, but also when they maybe have an expensive car or are a member of a golf club. So there are some details that have to be examined there.
Right, because the whole idea of this basic pension plan is to provide the best coverage and benefit for those who need most the monthly allowance. Thank you, Soa, for that report.
My pleasure.
Good morning. Let's run through the front pages of your newspapers. And we have a variety of stories ahead of us today, but many of the top stories are about finding ways for the country to build a safe nation for the public. And we'll go ahead and start with the top story here on 동아일보, and it's on the latest investigation upon Yoo Byung-hun. Prosecutors have uncovered evidence suggesting that Yoo Byung-hun, the de facto owner of the operator of the sunken Seoul ferry, was actually involved in the management of the company, a revelation that could just speed up justice against him. So the headline reads, to hold Yoo Byung-hun accountable for accidental homicide. The paper reports that the prosecutor's office yesterday said it had obtained an internal organization chart that names Yoo as the president after raiding the offices of Cheonghaejin Marine Company and its affiliates. So these documents indeed suggest that Cheonghaejin Marine Company may have been managed by the business tycoon himself, according to The Daily. And let's turn to this headline underneath separately regarding the drones that were discovered here in the country. And according to an analysis of geographical data retrieved from the spy aircrafts, all three of the small drones found near the inter-Korean border in March and April were indeed sent from North Korea. The headline says, takeoff and landing points for all three drones confirmed to be from the north. The Defense Ministry announced yesterday that a team of South Korean and American experts had confirmed that the origin of the drones were from the north after restoring the coordinates of the geographical positioning system stored in the systems. It turns out that all three UAVs originated from the northern side and were programmed to return to the same regions as well. And let's switch gears to 중앙일보, looking at this image to the side. Of course, our S.J. Lee will have more details regarding the story later on in sports news. But yesterday, head coach Hong Myung-bo unveiled a youthful squad for this year's FIFA World Cup to be held in Brazil. The headline says, Go Korea once again. And the caption explains that the average height of the team is 184 centimeters, the average age less than 26 years old. So those are the 23 faces plus coach Hong Myung-bo that will be representing Korea. Meanwhile, we'll take a look at that story next to that image. The article is about safety, and the title says, Safety equals national interest. And if you take a look at the sub-headline, the paper emphasizes the importance of going back to the basics. As the sub-headlines here, they say that it takes the country $30 billion every year to pick up after all the industrial accidents and car crashes, which is almost about the same amount as this year's national defense budget. However, the paper notes that the ordinary public is rather insensitive and ignorant to safety, as they call it a sense of 안전불감증 in Korean. And experts are saying that it is imperative to invest in building a safe nation that the people actually feel the need for. And the Daily states that safety is what truly results in national interest. And over on 조선일보, we'll take a look at another story here at the top regarding public safety, and the headline says, halt all political strife and find a solution to public safety. The paper is stressing the need for the ruling and the main opposition party to stop with all of their tit-for-tat political disputes, as voices are becoming louder on the call for consensus on safety measures. And in the subheadline, it says that experts are saying a comprehensive agreement must come after a joint declaration on eliminating politics of interest is made by the political parties. And let's finally go on to a local business news here on the Mail Business newspaper. And it's Korea's private consumption and investment. They have been further chilling following the Seoul ferry disaster as economic indicators for the first quarter came in well below the forecast. The headline says, frail consumption drags down growth, economy SOS. Moreover, concern is rising that the won's drastic appreciation would deal a blow to exports, as we talked about here on in the program yesterday as well. In the aftermath of the internal and external economic troubles, the Korea Development Institute and the Korea Institute of Finance are downgrading Korea's growth outlook for this year. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Friday, and coming up are the stock numbers from Thursday.
Time now to get a check on the weather. Midday highs will soar to as high as 24 degrees Celsius here in Korea.
That's right.
Today and tomorrow also. It's going to be a beautiful one.
Good weather for the weekend. Everything seems to be looking good, especially after a 3-day working week. Who can beat that, right? For more on today's weather and also a peek into the weekend forecast, we will be joined by Chun Song-cho, who is outdoors, and she has that all for us.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I'm reporting live from Seokcheon Park, which is bustling with all these people taking their morning walk. The outside conditions are similar to yesterday, pretty chilly still at the moment, but this is due to a mass of cold air sitting on top of the peninsula all the way in the upper atmosphere. However, things are looking brighter as we move into the afternoon. Warmer conditions with sunny and clear skies are in store for us, not just today, but tomorrow as well. So this weekend seems like another perfect time to enjoy the last bit of spring. Well, just before the nationwide rainfall on Sunday, which could be a letdown for many. But let's look on the bright side, guys, and make the best out of today and tomorrow for outdoor activities. Today, the weather is largely affected by a high-pressure system moving eastward from the West Sea. Let's take a closer look at today's forecast for more details. Warm air blowing from the south and strong sunshine will push the midday highs higher, and it'll widen the temperature gaps between the highs and lows even more. Seoul and Daejeon's highs are 24, Gangneung the coolest at 20, and Daegu the warmest at 26 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow evening, clouds will gather up over the southern regions, Jeju-do and Jeollado provinces, and they will be accompanied by drizzles, which will then turn into nationwide rainfall the next day, continuing well until Monday morning. This is all for me with the weather update. Back to Min-jung in the studio.
Thank you, Song-cho. People around the world are reacting strongly to the kidnappings of hundreds of teenage girls by a militant group in Nigeria, and a social media campaign is catching on. Let's turn to Eunice Kim, who joins us from the News Center for a closer look at this story and much more. Good morning, Eunice.
Good morning,
hashtag bring back our girls, right?
That's right. Hashtag bring back our girls. That's the online rallying cry that's spreading on Twitter. U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama recently becoming one of the high-profile tweeters to call for the return of those missing schoolgirls. Meanwhile, more disturbing news out of the northeastern Nigeria, where surviving residents of the town that was hit with that marketplace massacre on Monday say 310 bodies were found buried in the days following. Now, Nigeria's government, who said the Islamist terror group Boko Haram was behind the attacks in Gamboru-Nagala, put the official death toll under 150. We'll probably have to wait to see how that develops in the coming days. And at the World Economic Forum meeting in Abuja, Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan declared the kidnap of the more than 200 schoolgirls will, quote, be the beginning of the end for terror in Nigeria. And in eastern Ukraine, pro-Russian separatists have declared they will move forward with Sunday's referendum vote for self-rule. This despite Russian President Vladimir Putin's call to postpone the vote to create conditions for dialogue. A leader of the self-declared Donetsk People's Republic told reporters while they were grateful to Putin, the People's Council had voted unanimously to hold the poll as planned. Millions of ballots asking whether the voter supports an independent sovereignty have already been prepared as Ukrainian authorities pledged their anti-terror operations will continue. And a 6.4 earthquake shook Mexico on Thursday noon local time, or about 5 hours ago. The U.S. Geological Survey put the center of the tremor 60 miles northwest of Acapulco in the southern Guerrero state, the same area that was hit with a 7.2 quake less than a month earlier. No immediate reports of major damage was made. USGS had earlier put the quake's magnitude at 6.8, but revised it down to 6.4 in the afternoon.
And Eunice, we've already seen plenty of crazy weather conditions this year, but one weather agency says there could be more to come.
Indeed, the Australian Bureau of Meteorology says El Niño weather could hit earlier this year, adding the chances of it arriving as early as July is 70%. The Weather Bureau pointed to climate data that recorded warmer subsurface sea temperatures of as much as 6 degrees in recent months. El Niño is that band of warming ocean water temperature that affects wind patterns, which could trigger floods and droughts in various parts of the globe. The Bureau warned this year's weather event could be one of the strongest in nearly 20 years. And that's a wrap of the global headlines we're following this morning.
And still ahead on Korea Today, we catch up with this week's latest entertainment news, as well as look into a new trend in Korean dramas. From courtrooms to the ER, a lot of new shows are revolving around specific jobs intertwined with romance and entertainment. Denny Hong has more.
The Orsay Museum is home to the largest collection of Impressionist and post-Impressionist masterpieces in the world. But you don't have to fly all the way to Paris, France. And Im Yoon-hee joins us to tell us how. Good morning.
Good morning, Young. So names such as Monet, Gauguin, even Van Gogh, they're very important names in the art community. I mean, these are all Impressionist artists. Now, some of their works are housed at this museum in Paris, a world-renowned museum. But instead of going all the way there, they've brought some of these works for the local art fans here. So let's take a look. She stands with an umbrella in hand, her dress swaying in the winds. This priceless painting is a masterpiece by one of the founders of French Impressionism, Claude Monet. And this one, a snake charmer in the brush. Henri Rousseau is another widely recognized piece, also identifiable with the Impressionism art movement, a movement that began in France. These are just a few of the Impressionist works brought across the sea from their motherland. And now they make up this exhibition of masterpieces from the Musée d'Orsay.
I'm pleased to bring these works from the Orsay Museum to the National Museum of Korea in Seoul. France is a legendary source of art, so I believe it's good to share these works with others.
175 works have been brought from the world-renowned museum in France, all from the Impressionism art era. The works from these pioneering Impressionist artists show that they had a different way of seeing things. Their bold brushstrokes and disregard for lines and conformity shocked the world then, but are now priceless to our world. These works are from the late 19th, early 20th century legends, along with works that show France during that transitional time period, a time when life was quickly changing, and art was taking a bold stance in society.
It's really important for us to see works from that time period in Europe, where society and civilization was reflected upon the artist. It's also important for a museum to expand its range, and we're grateful for this exhibition here at the National Museum.
And it's not just limited to paintings. The legendary museum has brought statues, even pictures, all giving us a glimpse into a defining moment in art.
So these aren't all the pieces from the Orsay Museum that are here, but some of them, right? But speaking of the museum, the Orsay Museum, it shares a little common history, I guess, with Seoul Station here in Korea. It was a railroad station that was turned into a museum.
Exactly. So it was built in the it was built in 1898, and then it was repurposed in the 70s into a museum because it, I guess, was a little bit too short to serve as a railway museum. But, you know, they've housed now they've grown to house, you know, furniture, paintings. They've grown to house photography, and it's now the largest collection of Impressionist and Post-Impressionist works. Okay,
and this isn't the first time the Orsay Museum has put on display some of its works right here.
Right, so this is actually the fourth time it's come to Korea, but this time their agenda is a little bit different, and they want to share a peek into Paris at that time, very important time in our art culture. And so instead of just looking at the artwork, they want to show both the photography and a little glimpse into the world, especially in Paris at that time.
Well, for some people looking for arts and cultures, this might be the perfect chance to see the original pieces in its original form.
And you could check it out this weekend.
All right, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And still ahead on Korea Today. Now, if the spring weather has gotten you a little bit drowsy and a little bit down, then your diet might be the problem. Well, if you constantly feel that fatigue even after hours of sleep, you may need a refreshing boost of fresh greens, which offers an attractive option. And vegetarian dishes are becoming increasingly popular, and Matthew Chung shows us some easy-to-make dishes.
We are looking forward to those vegetarian dishes for sure. But first, let's check the keywords that are trending now. Heartthrob Jang Dong-gun, who could be likened to the George Clooney of Korea, is back with a new movie.
Right. He said he will be satisfied only if the movie attracts more than 5 million moviegoers. And for more, our Seomi Sorang joins us from the digital room. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. A lot of entertainment news came up on the search phrase rankings yesterday. So let's get started and see which 5 got some of the most attention. Press conference for the movie No Tears for the Dead, starring Jang Dong-gun, was held yesterday, while G.O.D's comeback single The Lone Duckling was released at noon. Korea's 23-man squad for the upcoming Brazil World Cup was announced yesterday, while many looked up the basic pension plan that our Kwon So-ah talked about earlier. Meanwhile, the new TV series You're All Surrounded also got many people talking. Now let's go back to that movie starring Jang Dong-gun. It's an unlikely love story between a professional hitman and his next target. Let's take a look. The latest addition to blockbusters lined up for this summer is No Tears for the Dead, starring Jang Dong-gun as Kwon, a veteran killer whose last mission is to assassinate Mo Kyung, played by actress Kim Min-hee. Things get complex for Kwon when he develops feelings for Mo Kyung, struggling between duty and love. Holding the megaphone is Lee Jung-bum of the critically acclaimed Cruel Winter Blues and the box office hit The Man from Nowhere. During the movie's press conference held yesterday, director Lee spoke highly of both actors, especially Kim Min-hee, who has convincingly made the transition from a teenage model to a seasoned actress. Many internet users were excited about this movie, saying they had high expectations for the star team. Check out the full trailer for yourself, and if it's your kind of movie, it opens in cinemas on June 5th. Moving on to our next issue, a first in 12 years. Let's take a look. Group G.O.D made their much-anticipated comeback yesterday, with the song The Lone Duckling released at noon and topping all of the 8 major Korean music charts within the hour. The song is written from the perspective of a man heartbroken after his lover leaves him. The protagonist likens his lonely, sad state to that of a lone, ugly duckling, and hence the title. The five-member group debuted back in 1999 and enjoyed phenomenal success with numerous hits under their belt until member Yoon Jae-sang left the group in 2002 and the group disbanded completely in 2005. So this comeback was not only the 15th year since their debut, but it's also the first project in 12 years with all five members taking part. Fans who have waited for more than a decade were ecstatic, to say the least. And the group has pledged to donate all profits to relief efforts in the Sewol-ho ferry disaster. That sums it up for today's News Sum Up. Please take care. I'll be back on Monday.
It's time now to check out some of the stories that have been making headlines on the entertainment front this week. And for this, we have our Denny Hong, as always, joining us in the studio.
Good morning, Denny.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you. Yes, of course, this week there's been a lot of different news, mainly regarding K-pop singers. And not only do we have local artists that have been releasing new songs here, but also we have artists that have been grabbing attention on the international market. So let's take a look at what's up in K-pop for this week. Just this Wednesday, Group EXO came back with its second mini-album, Overdose. Even before the release, more than 660,000 were pre-ordered, setting new records there, and it's now at the top of many different music charts. Akdong musician's new music video, Give Love, received a great review from the US Billboard, which said the two are still love quirksters in the music video, bringing back their perky and fun vibe, added with a flair of their own. Staying with the Billboard, they also recently compiled a list of top 10 K-pop girl groups you need to know, handpicking Girls' Generation and 2NE1, likening them to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones of K-pop. And also on the list were groups like SES, Pinku, and Baby Vox, who kicked off the girl group boom back in the 90s. Actor Ji Yeon-woo finished his mandatory military service of 21 months in the Army on Tuesday. Some 100 fans from Korea, China, and Japan came to greet him as he was discharged, and the actor is expected to make his comeback in a drama called Trot Lovers, scheduled to air in June. Hip-hop group MIB is scheduled to hold a solo concert in Japan this month, and this is despite the group not having released an album in Japan so far. The concert is said to have been put together due to demand from local fans and is scheduled for the 17th and 18th in Osaka and Tokyo. The hip-hop quartet will release its new song and hold meetings with fans as well.
And note to self, MIB is not Man in Black, but...
Well, last I heard it was Most Incredible Busters, but I think
they changed their names
changing it around here.
Yes.
Oh, wow, interesting.
But it's not Men in Black, no.
Okay, well, you're here to talk to us about Korean dramas, and there seems to be a common denominator in some of the popular dramas. It centers around specific jobs.
Well, I think that's the current trend that we got to deal with, in the market today. I guess more recently, it was more on revenge and mystery and those kind of elements, but now we are seeing a lot more dramas focused around professions like doctors, lawyers, as well as medical technicians. So let's see this new trend in dramas in the K industry today. The first drama leading this trend is Angel Eyes, which first aired April 5th. Lee Sang-yoon and Koo Hae-sun play a surgeon and medical technician, offering a peek inside ERs and accident sites, all intertwined with romance. They especially underwent a lot of extra training, not only for fire drills, but also for rescue operations.
They must they must learn a lot from
just learning and going through the training.
생일이 소방의 날이에요. 11월 9일 소방의 날인데 소방대원을 하게 돼서 굉장히 신기했고요.
Fate in the making.
When it comes to job-specific shows, medical dramas are considered a guaranteed success when it comes to captivating viewers with various topics and sophisticated production. Added to this trend, elements from spy series, romance, and politics are added, creating the new drama, Dr. Stranger. Hallyu star Lee Jong-suk and Park Hae-jin lead the drama. It involves a gifted doctor from North Korea who works at one of Korea's or the country's top hospitals and struggles to find his first love. The love story adds an attraction to the medical show, but also the conflict stemming from living in a divided country.
굉장히 새로운 느낌의 메디컬 드라마인 것 같았고 정치적인 내용이 좀 있지만 그게 어렵지 않았고 그래서 굉장히 신선한 느낌을 많이 받았어요.
Especially with Park Hae-jin, who skyrocketed to fame in China, many of his fans are anxious to see how he'll do this time around, following My Love from the Star.
올해 흉부외과를 지원한 전공의는 지금 보여드린 캐릭터와는 조금 다른 모습을 보여드릴 수 있을 것 같아서 선택하게 됐습니다. 많은 기대 부탁드리겠습니다.
Another popular category, along with medical stories, is courtroom dramas. The show, A New Leaf, highlights the transformation of a success-driven lawyer into a fighter for justice. Kim Young-min, who has so far played the role of a doctor, conductor, drama producer, and many other professional careers, leads the show, with many curious about the new role he takes on. Why are so many dramas based on specific work or job sites?
Earlier in the year, dramas like God's Gift 14 Days or 3 Days were very popular, so viewers have been exposed to that particular genre a lot. That's why we're seeing these new dramas, so that people don't get tired of the same format.
In the midst of this, a new drama, You're All Surrounded, revolving around the lives of young police officers who have just joined the service, has been stirring up attention. Top actors join hands for the show, and with this young talent, the drama takes on a lighter tone, and the story unfolds in ways different from conventional police shows.
많은 시청자분들께서 웃으실 수 있고 또 따뜻하고 또 재미있는 드라마가 될 수 있도록 열심히 연기하겠습니다.
Some do raise questions about these job-centered dramas because in the past, many have stopped at being simple romance stories. Many viewers say that they want to see shows that dig more into the trial and triumphs experienced in a particular field of work. And with this, newer dramas are more apt to take the viewers into a glimpse behind the scenes of these professions.
So the other day I was going through the channels and all of these dramas almost started on the same week, so it was really difficult to pick just one. But especially for Dr. Stranger, I heard that it drew a lot of attention even before airing, and I hear especially in China.
Well, I think that's an element of piggybacking on the success of previous dramas that have already aired in the country. So My Love from the Star as well as 3 Days, both immensely popular over in China, as well as, I guess, the actors too, Park Hae-jin and Lee Jong-suk, they were both already popular in the country. So that's probably one of the reasons for the popularity there of these dramas, even before they did come out.
It really looks like every drama that comes out regarding professions, they raise the ante and raise the bar a little. They're all like geniuses from Mensa groups or something, right? With IQs over 140 and they're completely awesome at their jobs, right? But we've seen a lot of these dramas with professions, everything, race car drivers, I mean, even TV news anchors as well, right? But the only ones that seem to be really successful are the ones involving doctors.
Well, I think when it comes to doctors, the medical profession, there's been so many different dramas surrounded on that. But also, I think when it comes to various professions, it's hard to relate as an individual who has no knowledge of those professions itself. How can you, as a viewer, relate to these things you see on the screen? And so in these cases, they usually add elements of romance or they add thriller or suspense elements too, so that people can have a universal attraction to these dramas. But at the same time, there has to be a balance between, is it a medical show with elements of romance, or is it a romance show with elements of medicine? So finding that balance, I think, is still something that's ongoing.
And as a female viewer, seeing those actors in white gowns is pretty hot.
See, it raises the bar for just the regular old Joes like me and Denny Hong.
I'm sorry, I can't help you with that.
I guess I'll become a doctor next.
Thank you, Denny.
No problem.
At 11 a.m. on Thursday, manager Hong Myung-bo announced his final roster for the upcoming Brazil World Cup. And to get a breakdown of his choice, joining us is SJ Lee. We're all excited about the Brazil World Cup.
Right.
SJ, good morning.
We're all excited, guys. Good morning. Of course, just like you mentioned at 11 a.m. yesterday, manager Hong Myung-bo did announce his final roster for the World Cup. But, just like everyone expected, not many surprise picks. And of course, going into the roster here, 23-man roster. Manager Hong Myung-bo chose 17 players from overseas and 6 players from the K-League, the most number of overseas players on the roster. And while, there weren't many surprises here, many experts did believe that Mainz defender Park Geun-hye was snubbed, as manager Hong Myung-bo decided to go with Yoon Seok-young of the Queen's Park Rangers instead. And despite 3 goalkeepers being chosen on the roster, it's still uncertain whether Chung Sung-young will start with this recent struggle on the national team.
A lot of eyes on whether Ki Sung-young and Park Ju-young were going to be on the roster,
Right.
and they are indeed on the list. And tell us about some of the key players who will lead Team Korea into the 2014
It's kind of
World Cup.
it's hard to choose because I have no doubt that this is probably the most talented team that we've seen to date for the South Korean national football team. But you did mention Park Ju-young, and a lot of people wonder if he's going to be effective on the team. But because there's so many talented strikers on the team right now, it's not really going to matter. So the key players will actually be over in the midfield and the defense. And if you go over to the midfield right now, although he's currently injured, he will be available by the time it's the World Cup. And it's, of course, Ki Sung-young. And what makes this guy so special is the fact that his passing game is amazing. And he knows how to control the pace of the game. And him at center mid, he's basically the player who's going to control the outcome of the match. And also, if you go on to the defense, Kwak Tae-hee, now how well he plays will be important as well. Now, when he plays well, he can move forward and attack and come back to defend effectively as well. But he has been struggling as of late, so how well he plays will change the outcome of the match as well.
And SJ, it's time again for predictions. So with this team, could Team Korea advance to the round of 16?
We all want to see the South Korean national football team advance as far as they can. I think, round of 16, like you said, is their, goal at this moment. But you have to understand, when they were drawn into this group with Russia, Belgium, and also Algeria, they thought it was an easy draw. But you have to understand, it's really not, and it's quite difficult. Of course, their first match against Russia will be the most important match, and usually the first match always is. And Russia is a team that's great with the counterattack, something Korea is indeed very weak against. And if they can beat Russia, their next match against Algeria will be a lot easier. And Belgium is obviously the best team in the group, and it's going to be very tough. But, I think this group is, like I said, a lot tougher than people think. And in my opinion, I think Korea will finish off with 2 draws and a loss and will not be able to advance to the next round.
Okay, so will not. This is a will not.
Don't say that.
Will not.
Okay, well, we're going to have to hope for better results. But speaking of the draws that you mentioned, who do you think Korea is going to draw to? I mean, because if you do see a draw in the future for them, there is always a chance that they're going to win too.
I mean,
it's a sport, it's a game.
Here's the thing. Last night, I was just like, how are the results going to come out? And I have to think about this. And the 2 draws, I think, the first game against Russia, I think they're going to draw. I think it's going to be 2-2. Algeria, they're also going to draw 1-1. Belgium is a very talented team. And I think if they're lucky and they play well enough, they'll lose 1-0. If they play poorly, I think the final result will be something like 3-1.
3-1.
Yes.
We're all going to go see the match together. If you lose, if your prediction goes wrong, the drink's on us.
Oh, man.
All right, well, thank you, SJ.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks a lot. nice spring day, you're hanging out at the park and the sun is shining on your face and you just start drowsing off and dozing off. Now, we have a term for that here in Korea. We call that 충곤증, right?
That's right.
And your diet can actually help with that drowsiness. And Matthew Chung joins us to talk more about that diet. Good morning.
Good morning, Matthew.
Morning. So if you have the right diet, it not only can it really wake you up, it can wake your palate up as well. You know, this time of the year, it's starting to get a little bit warmer, which means that we're starting to get some really beautiful things coming out of the farms and onto our plate. So we're focusing on produce, vegetables. So why don't we take a look at some fantastic vegetarian dishes.
Vegetarianism, veganism, it's gone beyond trend. It's something that's a legitimate lifestyle now. So we're gonna visit one special spot here in Cheongnam-dong. So this place uses organic ingredients and it's all produce.
I used to have a lot of health problems. So I wanted to change my health. So I turned to vegetarianism. So I cut out red meat and dairy products in my diet.
This dish, it's the zucchini pasta. Instead of using pasta, this dish uses ribbons of zucchini and includes tomatoes, which probably by far, more than any other vegetable, packs that nutritious punch that you need to really get through the day. Not only is it full of things like vitamin C, but it's also full of lycopene, which is incredibly good for the heart. Instead of using a flour-based pasta, these ribbons of zucchini, these zucchini noodles essentially, they are so much better for you in that regard. They're packed full of fiber. Not only that, they have that great summery flavor as well. So if you're not ready to make the full commitment into veganism, you know, there's this incredible vegetarian dish that they have here. It's avocado toast, and it's got this beautiful soft poached egg on top. And avocados are probably one of the funniest vegetables in the sense that they're good for people trying to lose weight, but they're also good for people trying to gain weight as well. They're full of fat, but it's all good fat. So if you just have a couple of slices with your meal, it turns an ordinary meal into something truly satisfying. And if you're trying to gain weight, hell, don't have a couple slices, have a couple avocados, and you'll really be able to bulk on that nice, clean, extra weight. So we've just enjoyed a meal at one of the hottest vegetarian restaurants in town, but I want to show you how to make some of this food at home, in particular vegan food. It can be super simple to make, and you can get some really delicious food out of it. The first thing we're going to work with today, we're going to make a 콩고기 떡갈비. Now, this is 콩고기, literally soy meat, textured vegetable protein. Now, that's not going to work. Regardless, this is what it is. It's packed with protein, which is what makes it essential for vegans, just because it's hard to get this sort of meaty texture into your food. So let's get started. And that ought to do it. Flick this guy off. Now, what this is going to get now is a little onion. All right, so it's just about come together. So now it's time to form our little patties. By substituting meat for soy meat, you actually pack on a lot of vitamin minerals that you wouldn't otherwise get in basically animal-based protein. This soy meat, it's packed full of those vitamins and minerals, so keep that into consideration the next time you're reaching for that steak. So you just want to gently cook these. You don't want to cook these too hard, otherwise they're going to burn and fall apart on you. So even if it's going to take a little bit longer, cook them gently. So we're on to our next dish right now, and we're going to be using this really cool Korean grain. It's called yulmu. In English, it's known as Job's tears. Now, in order to prepare this, you need to soak them for a couple of hours, and we're going to focus on the mushrooms. So just to go around, we have 새송이, 표고, 느타리, and 팽이버섯. And these four are some of the more common ones you find here in Korea, but they're all packed with flavor, and they all have their own distinct textures. We'll flick our fire on. Our firmest ones are a pyogo, and then we're gonna go 새송이, and then 느타리, and then finally the 팽이. So in go our pyogo. Now in go our 새송이, 느타리 버섯. Put in the remainder of our mushrooms and cook for another 3 minutes or so. All right, now we're just gonna deglaze the pan a little bit, and this is gonna essentially create our stock. So now we can start cooking our yurmu. So what we're gonna do is, and here's the important rule of this dish. You start stirring and you don't stop stirring until it's done. So the grains are about 95% cooked. So at this point, this is when we're gonna add sundubu. Dubu is kind of a vegan staple just because of how much nutrients that you're able to get from such a simple ingredient. And that's it. You know, you really have to make this at home because otherwise you'll have no idea just how satisfying a dish can be, even though there is zero animal product in it.
Wow,
And we
you
have-
brought the food with you. Thank
It
you.
looks fabulous. It looks fabulous.
That's the zucchini pasta that we saw in the report, and that is just zucchini, no
That's
pasta.
right. It's not only that. It's a raw dish, so it's so no cooking required. And what makes that great is that it retains all the nutrients in the zucchini. None of it gets cooked out. None of it leaches into say like a boiling water or whatnot. Mhm. But so it's light, it's crisp, and with weather getting warmer, it's summertime is coming up, and these are all those classic summer flavors.
Wow.
Not sure if you brought the right fork, but
I'm just quite amazed at how pasta looking these strands are. I don't know.
How is that?
Is it good?
It's fresh,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
right.
And you can taste the zucchini. It's just,
Speechless.
Yep. And these little
like the
things,
sauce.
it's not beef. It's
Oh,
not,
this is.
Oh, it's not
ground
beef?
beef.
No,
Okay.
This is quite a scene. We should get this. How do you explain this? How did they get it to be so long?
I mean, they say here in Korea too that like long noodles represent a long,
Long life.
life.
Looks like I got the longest one.
And especially
Long
with a
live
dish
young
like
Kim.
this, with all the health benefits that you find packed in a dish like this, definitely that long life is something that's waiting ahead of you.
And the texture of the sauce tastes
texture.
like meat.
That's quite amazing.
It's
Yeah.
so fresh.
It is. It really is. And that's really what you want to be eating this time of the year. You want something that will not it won't weigh you down. It'll wake you up. It'll give you something rather than take it away from you.
It's quite peppery too. There's a bit of pepper sprinkled on top.
So there's no meat in here.
No meat in there.
A meat lover himself.
No,
and,
exactly.
If
Yeah.
he gets the young Kim approval, then this dish,
it's good.
then it's good.
And you're gonna leave this here, right?
I'm not sure how much there's going to be left because I mean that's the thing about we talk about tastes like meat. It's not necessarily a meat flavor that you're tasting. It's that sort of like really satisfying deep flavor that you're getting out of it.
Oh, this is so good.
In the
I like
meantime,
this.
we have the avocado toast right here.
Yes, and so avocados, another great sort of sunny bit of produce. And what makes avocados great is that they're packed with fat, but just about the right fat that you want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not the not the ones that are full of saturated fat, but rather this is something that's has no cholesterol because there's no animal fat in there, but it's
the
all
good
nice and
fat.
clean, and it's a type that really keeps you going throughout the day.
Oh, looks great, but I have to stay away from the bread.
Well, I mean, even the bread itself, it's got the whole grains in there, so it's much better for you than something like a buttery laminated dough or like a white bread dough.
And the avocado these days is being incorporated in Korean cuisines as well.
You start, it's something that's
indigenous to the Americas, in Central and Latin America. But you start to see it more and more now in Korean cuisine. You start seeing things like kimbap and bibimbap, and just because it really does give that nice, luscious, creamy texture, and that rich. It's rich but fresh at the same time as well.
So before we wrap up, what's vegetarian food's benefits when it comes to spring fatigue?
Well, I mean, just like anything else, you want a good diet to get you through, whatever the elements are sort of, throwing at you. And a vegetarian diet, if balanced correctly,
I'm just going to have to cut you off right there because it's time to close the show now and eat. Enough from you, mister. Thank you, Matthew, for this story.
Always a pleasure.
All right, that's all from us this morning.
And enjoy your Friday. We'll see you back here on Monday morning. Enjoy your weekend as well.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm so thirsty now.